News alert. We thought it would happen, and it did. The White House now hitting back at Republicans in a major political battle over the alleged Christmas Day bomber and how he was handled after his capture. Republicans are calling for President Obama's top counterterrorism advisor, John Brennan, to resign or be fired. Why? Because Brennan came out swinging against those Republicans after they criticized the way Abu Muttalib, that suspect, was handled. Senator Kit Bond, who is vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, says Brennan has been carrying out policies that endanger America and should step down. White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs responding to this dust-up a moment ago.
John is there each and every day, working in his office to try to do everything he can to keep the American people safe. And I would suggest, whether it's to Senator Bond or others on Capitol Hill, that these are decisions best left to people that have an understanding of counterterrorism, experience in counterterrorism, and law enforcement, rather than to politicians on Capitol Hill.
Some strong words from the White House press secretary. And joining us now to react is former White House press secretary under George W. Bush, Dana Perino. Dana, thanks so much for being here. Strong words from Robert Gibbs.
Yeah, strong words, but also I think a little bit misplaced. Look, let's go back in time just a little bit. Look, let me just say that I personally am not calling for John Brennan to resign, and I think that's something that the commander-in-chief is going to have to decide. But certainly Senator Bond, who is on the committee that is supposed to have oversight over counterterrorism issues, he is very experienced. He's been doing this for 8 years. I know John Brennan has been a part of this community for a long time as well. The White House itself, the administration itself, admitted that they had bungled part of the operation. And what Kit Bond was really confused about last week was an initial comment to him by the FBI director that it would be terrible to let the world know that Abdul Muttalib was actually talking, because that's the cue to the terrorists.
Because he spoke, and then he clammed up once he was Mirandized, or right around that time, and then he started speaking again.
Right, and then they commented that he was speaking again, which to Senator Bond's mind was the wrong thing to do. And I think that it's perfectly appropriate, and in fact might be a dereliction of his duty if he didn't ask questions.
And so he came out and criticized the administration for revealing those details, and he's not alone. John Boehner has come out, Pete Hoekstra, I should say, has come out and criticized them. Mitch McConnell has come out and criticized them.
And it's not just Republicans. There have been others, Democrats, but also the USA Today editorial yesterday was excruciating in its criticism of the administration. I think they would be much better off if they put their energy into setting up this high-value interrogation detainee group that they said that they were going to set up in August of 2009. It's not set up yet. If it had been, that's who would have been able to consider what to do with Abdul Muttalib at the time.
Well, that was one of the mistakes that they made, is that they said when testifying about this, oh, well, you know, we should have brought in the HIG. That's what they're calling it, the High Intelligence Group. Turns out the HIG wasn't even created. They couldn't have brought in the HIG if they wanted to, because we later learned in other testimony it didn't exist. And so now people are saying Brennan needs to step down. We don't have faith in this guy. He's our counterterrorism chief. He's making mistakes, and he's playing politics with the Republicans who are trying to call him out on some things that the American people are concerned about. Has this gone all political, or is this more serious than that?
I think that it has gone. I do think it's right that we ask questions. Believe me, nobody shied away from asking questions during the previous administration about their policies. Perfectly appropriate. We fought those battles. We won a lot of them. We also have 8 years of experience under our belt now. One of the things the administration has done over the past 2 weeks is said, well, we did with the underwear bomber exactly what the Bush administration did with the shoe bomber.
Right.
It's really comparing apples and oranges. And in addition to that, I will have a piece on National Review this afternoon with my former colleague Bill Burke, in which we say that given 8 years of case law and experience, we would not have handled the shoe bomber the way that we did. We would have handled it in a better way.
And it was 3 months after 9/11.
It was 2 months after 9/11. The anthrax attacks that just happened. We did not have any place to hold enemy combatants. We didn't have a way to interrogate them. And I think that we would have handled it differently. And in fact, we did. About 5 months later, when Jose Padilla was arrested, he was arrested and held on U.S. soil as an enemy combatant. Completely different way of handling it. And then we didn't have another example of a Richard Reed shoe bomber or underwear bomber during those 8 years. We just didn't have one to deal with. And so I think the comparisons are out of whack, and the facts show that.
When you saw some criticism from these top intelligence Republicans in any event, when it comes to the committees, these are the top Republicans on them, they came out and said this has been mishandled. And then Brennan fires back with this op-ed in USA Today saying, you are playing politics. National security is too important to be politicized. Essentially, back off. Is that a fair charge?
I just think that it would be a fair charge if the facts stood up to the scrutiny of his op-ed. They don't. And in fact, remember, his op-ed is in response to the USA Today editorial that is criticizing the administration.
Right, the paper.
Right, the paper itself. So this is not just a Republican thing. I think all of us would be much better off if we focused on, all right, let's do the appropriate oversight. Let's agree that the Congress has a role to play. I think that those, both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill would say, our responsibility is oversight. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our jobs. And then how do we move forward to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Dana, some people think that this is a continuation of sort of a thin skin at the administration. You know, I mean, you got to take some hits.
I think everybody in Washington has relatively thin skin, except for the press secretaries who have to build up a thicker skin. I think that across the world, though, when people are watching us and they watch the briefings every day, they watch what America is doing, we would be better off if we stood together and tried to figure out the problems that we had with the underwear bomber, work together to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because by their own admission, the CIA director last week said it's almost guaranteed that within the next 6 months we'll have another attack on America, and hopefully we'll be able to thwart it. But we have to be right 100% of the time, and they just have to be right once.
Yeah, let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Dana Perino, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You and your thick skin. We appreciate you being here.